Hey, we're a little bit early. Everybody, this is Justin.
Hello.
Hi. Yeah, we'll wait a few minutes, or not a few minutes, but till people start showing up. And you can start seeing that it'll show like the little counter. Justin's never done a live before. Hi guys, welcome. See, everyone starts showing up. Hi.
Hi.
And hello. So babe, you want to tell them a little bit about you?
My name is Justin. I have been in the Navy for 15 years. I've been with Christina over here for 8 years in November. So about half of my Navy career. So yeah, that's where I'm at. I'm an avid cyclist. I love her food, and I love other food also, and we're going to talk about that.
We are going to talk about that. I thought that we'll take questions as well, but a question that I get all the time from all of you is if my family eats what I eat. And I definitely talk a lot about what Jack eats because, you know, he's my child. But
he's my child too.
He's our child, right? But I think that a lot of people have spouses that aren't exactly on board with their lifestyle changes. And I will say that I have a friend who always says that she's like, people change their eating habits for two reasons: because they're sick or because they had a kid, or both. And I feel like that was absolutely me. Having my son was a big reason why I changed my eating habits, but then of course also being sick. Justin doesn't have any like chronic illnesses, and because although he's a parent, he didn't like carry a baby, and he wasn't and he wasn't a stay-at-home parent, so it's a little different. So we'll talk a little bit about Justin's eating habits, but I'm going to ask him a few questions. I'm going to do kind of interview format. You guys are welcome to pop questions on the screen as we go, if you have any questions for either Justin or myself. I will say, just someone did ask on the Instagram feed, we are living in Northern Virginia right now. We met when he was stationed in Miami. We did live in Hawaii. We're not there anymore, and yes, we miss it.
And we had Jack in San Diego.
Oh, thank you so much.
Dude, that's hard to see.
Oh, they're reading? I can see. I have better eyesight. So I have that going for me.
I'm older also.
He is older. 5 years older than me. 1980, 1985. So, and both June babies. So we're both Geminis. I don't know if that makes a thing. But we're both really different. But I think we complement each other.
We do.
Yeah. Like, I'm really messy, or I'm a lot more organized. Maybe
she does things good.
maybe not to his standards, but to my own. Oh, Sandy, awesome. And thank you. I'm so glad you liked the book. So one question I'm gonna start with Justin is, how did you feel when I first like changed my eating? Like, remember, like 3 years ago, we were in Hawaii. I had already been doing gluten-free and stuff, but I did that Whole30, and then we kind of stayed paleo, or I did. And I did the autoimmune protocol, and that just kind of all happened like in one summer. How did you feel about those changes?
Well, first of all, I will remind you that when I met you, you were going through a vegan phase, and I did not know that.
That's true. Talk louder.
Okay. And so anyways, those Whole30s and whatever you just described you went through, I just let you go through them. And I still pretty much did what I did. Ate at work, but had dinner with you.
Right.
And so most of the time, I don't have any bad memories of any of that stuff. So really, it wasn't much of a thing. I think the more meals that I ate with you, the more the easier it was for me.
And did you notice, even though you didn't eat my food all the time, right? Because he said like he ate dinner with me, but breakfast and lunch were kind of at work. He'd buy. There was a while there where you bought lunch for a long time.
Every day.
Almost every day he bought lunch instead of taking it packed. And did you notice a difference in your own health, like with shifting from eating more food at home than eating food out?
I think I was trying to actively take care of myself better. And that probably had something to do with your diet. But the longer you do something, the easier it is. And the less I wanted to eat the way I was eating before. And the more progress I made with working out or cycling or whatever, the more in tune I was to the way you were eating, actually. So, yeah.
Right. Which pretty much moral of the story is just keep doing your thing. Even if you have people at home that might seem kind of resistant, one thing I've noticed is if you stay fast and kind of like prove to your family that you're in this for real. Because like Justin said, I was vegan when we met. And then I went from vegan to like full-blown eating everything for a while there. And then I was doing gluten-free sort of. And I think Justin's kind of like, I'm just going to let her do her thing. It's a phase. It'll pass. But when he realized that this wasn't a phase, that it was for the long haul, he started taking it more seriously too. Did you notice any, like talk about, oh, thank you. Yeah, it is awesome. Talk about like athletic performance. Like, what do you feel compared to like your peers was the advantage of you having a more whole food based diet?
Okay, the question's a little unfair from when it started. I wasn't really active at all, and then so I changed my diet and became very active at the same time. So it was twofold. But after I had settled into that lifestyle for a while, a lot of my peers in Hawaii that I rode with were very good athletes, but oftentimes they didn't have the best nutrition. So I definitely had a leg up on them. Some of them were genetically superior to me, for sure, and had been doing it for a long time. But just with nutrition alone, I was able to keep up with a lot of those guys. So for sure.
Yeah. So even if your partner isn't necessarily like has health issues, there's always advantages to eating really good food, which is great because it was great for him to notice that it was making a difference in his life. What are some things that you miss? That we don't have in the house ever.
So that I'm glad you asked that. Nothing. And that sounds weird. And it sounds like I'm lying, but it's not. Matter of fact, today, I went for a ride this morning. I've been riding a lot this week. Jack's at school. We had the house to ourselves. I could have drove and splurged on anything I wanted, but it had what we had last night for dinner, and it was awesome. But 6 months ago, I wouldn't have done that. We're used to not having bread in the house. That was really difficult for me in the beginning, but I don't even eat bread anymore. I don't go out of my way to anyways. I will have a hamburger every now and then at a restaurant, but really it's just like anything you do over time, you just get used to it.
Right.
And it took a while, but I really don't miss anything. Actually, I used to eat pizza once a week.
That's right, pizza on Fridays.
That was like my thing, and I am kind of tired of that, and I haven't had it in a long time.
That's true. Okay, funny story about the pizza. So we were in Hawaii, and we had new neighbors on the street, and on Fridays, the Papa John guy would deliver Justin's pizzas. And this, when I first met this person, we kind of, I told them like about me and what I did. And then like a few weeks passed by, and like one day, like really oddly, she like pretty much accused me of being like an in the closet gluten eater. Like, oh yeah, because you eat pizza, right? Because like I see the delivery guy going to your house, and I'm like, that's not for me.
Mm-hmm.
But
that whole thing was for me.
It was, but it's so funny that like this person assumed I was consuming the pizza that was being delivered to the house, and like thought I was like, hold on, someone asked the question. First thing you cooked for one another. Sorry. Oh, a first thing I cooked for Justin. That's actually a good question. Remember?
I remember.
You remember. You want to tell it? You tell it.
I don't quite remember. I just remember going to the grocery store, and she had her little basket, and I was still kind of nervous around her, and I was already hungry, and a grocery store is a terrible place to be hungry, and she's putting all this stuff in the little basket that doesn't look like something you would feed a human.
I was vegan, by the way, remember, and it was with a Whole Foods gift. We were at a Whole Foods. I don't think you'd been to a Whole Foods.
No, I don't even remember. I was overwhelmed that day for sure.
And I made him zucchini for the first time.
Zucchini?
Yeah, it was zucchini and eggplant because I used to eat nightshades, and I forgot. But yeah, it was a vegan meal I made you. But did you like it?
It was good.
It was good. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's funny. That's a good question. It was did you give me the gift card?
I don't remember.
Anyway, yeah, it was a vegan meal that I made him. And then throughout us dating, I started eating fish sometimes. What was that place we'd go to? Fresco, Fresh, something fresh. It was like a Lime that had little like fish tacos. Anyway, but yeah, we definitely been through so many phases, and I think that's something interesting to remember. Like when you're in a couple, you're gonna evolve. Like everyone changes. Oh, we can scroll these up. We do gluten-free pizza on Fridays too. That's awesome. Yeah, I mean, I haven't, so because I can't find a pizza that I can eat that's like made outside of my house, because I can't do gluten, I can't do cheese, and I can't do tomatoes. So unless I'm making my own pizza.
Can I add?
Yes.
You said Papa John's. I don't like Papa John's
No, I said
anymore.
Okay.
But so we were talking about what do I miss, and I said I don't really miss anything, and then we slowly but surely have all these things that I could only eat out of the pantry and out of the house. Mm-hmm. Well, for the significant others who aren't, don't have to eat this way like Christina does and many of you out there, I've also noticed that I seek good quality food when I am going to go splurge, and it's fun, and you can find great places that actually make great food with great ingredients, and it makes it a lot more interesting, not McDonald's or Papa John's. So anyways.
Yeah, that's actually a really good point. Justin grew up like very traditional standard American diet, a lot of traditional like American dishes, things that I didn't have emotional attachments to because growing up Hispanic and like Cuban immigrants, like, so there were a lot of things that like comfort foods, and he had a lot of emotional attachment to things that are like, it's part of the experience, you know, that I was like, yeah, go for it. But even for him that he doesn't have to avoid those foods, he does now seek better quality versions or just different options, which has been a really cool evolution to see. And kind of to circle back about evolution, like when you're in a couple, you might not evolve at the same pace. Like you might not change at the same pace. And we kind of went through that. Like we had growing pains. I think it was like, you know, first of all, when you have young children in the house, it's going to be difficult. Like the first 2 years of having a baby are the worst on your marriage. Like it's so hard to find time to be together without this needy baby around that needs all your attention. And I'm tired from like having the child on top of me all day. And so graduating from that to then all these like lifestyle changes, it kind of all just snowballed. It was hard. Like it, you know, we've had this conversation where I'm grateful that he kind of came along for the ride, because I didn't sit down and say, hey, Justin, I'm going to get healthy now. You want to do this together? I'm kind of like, hey, I'm doing this, and just expected them to come with me. So there definitely, it wasn't like always smooth. There was a little like, hey, I'm coming, like, you know, but I think, like I said, if you stick with something and kind of like show that your family that you're serious about it, it's for the long haul, it'll inspire them to get on board. And not just like between you and me, like we've actually impacted our community. In Hawaii, a lot of our neighbors, and in my family, like my mom, your brother.
You started cooking?
Yeah, like started cooking and getting Blue Apron. So kind of just leading by example instead of preaching, just do your own thing. Oh yeah, we can't see the questions. And people will kind of jump on board. I eat healthy, and my husband says that he will eat the same. So we're both trying to improve. That's awesome. My husband has become a savage label reader too. That's so good. Yeah, it's crazy the kind of things you start noticing. I think, what is it, like the unnecessary ingredients and stuff sometimes? Mm-hmm. Like even with his ice cream.
Yeah. Give me some cream and some milk. That's all I want in my ice cream, and some sugar.
Right.
That's it. It's harder than you think to find.
Yeah.
Also, it has to have at least 1,000 calories, or I don't want it.
That too. But yeah, talk about calorie deficits. This one over here. I don't know how many. It's crazy how many calories he burns. Let me scroll down, see if we missed anything else. Like sugar and canned, like pinto beans. Right. Isn't that nuts? Yeah, so obviously there's some things that I make for them, right? Like I'll bake them like gluten-free stuff, or make them like soup, like split pea soup, and things that I might not necessarily eat because of my specific restrictions, but that we all still consider to be whole foods, right?
Yeah.
And those are good for them and good treats. Like they don't do, unless like we're sharing a sweet that I'm eating as well, I'll make them like regular paleo treats and do like natural sweeteners, right? Which I think you guys prefer. He's not a huge fan of the keto sweeteners.
But mostly they're for our son, and I'll just try them usually.
That's true.
So.
Ooh, what's your favorite thing that I make?
I knew someone was going to ask that. So she makes something different every day. Haven't you guys noticed? So that was part of the thing that was hard for me, was growing up in a house where, periodically my mom would make tuna noodle casserole or something. That was one of my favorite dishes. And that was a hard thing to adjust, so she didn't really repeat anything. But I can tell you that, what was the name of what I just had left over?
Oh, yeah, the arroz imperial that I made for Diet Doctor, which is like cauliflower rice, mayo, shredded chicken, cashew cheese, and then you repeat. He loved
that. Was my favorite.
Because he just ate it. But he liked that a lot.
Yeah. The chicken wings. Yeah.
Oh, he loves the chicken wings.
Those are really good.
Those are really good. And I repeat those. We repeat those.
True. Yes.
But, at least a version of them. Do you always agree on what to feed Jack? Ooh, that's a good question.
Yes, we do.
And how do you follow specific guidelines with Jack just to stick to healthy whole foods? Right. So with Jack, I think it was a non-issue until more recently he had the postnasal drip, and then I was like, okay, I want to try an elimination diet. And it's funny because Justin was a little bit like, no, I don't think it's like that big of a deal. I think sometimes he's still a little resistant to me. I think he thinks I'm a hypochondriac sometimes. And so, but I was like, I want to try this. I want to try this elimination approach with Jack. But he did notice a difference. We both noticed a difference with Jack having less dairy. So he's on board. He's supporting with that, having Jack off dairy. And yeah, we mostly do healthy whole foods with Jack. Like he would take him out sometimes for like a donut date, or they would get pizza on the weekends, but less and less they're doing that. And when they go spend time together, they're getting better quality foods. Which is good because we had a conversation about that. Like, you don't want Jack to associate going out with you with eating junk food, right?
Right.
On a more positive association. So,
hey, but they were good donuts and good pizza, by the way.
That's true. But still, yeah, with Jack, he hasn't exuded any. Remember, he does his gut is intact, thank God. So we haven't had to worry about anything chronic with him. Hold on. Oh, my favorite dessert. What's your favorite dessert?
You go first. Ice cream, hello.
That's true. Of mine, you like my chewy cookies, the almond meal ones.
Oh, what's my favorite dessert of yours?
Yeah.
The original cookie one.
Right. So the chocolate chip cookies on my blog made with almond meal, those are his absolute favorite. I think they're mine too, honestly, although I haven't had the nut ones in a while. I just do the coconut flour ones, which I like just as much. He likes the almond ones a lot better. And I really like my coconut caramel slice. I think it's so good. I don't make it often. You like that one too, the one that's like candy, the coconut, like hard candy.
Oh yeah, we haven't had that in a long time because it has butter in it.
Yeah, and because you can make it with coconut milk, but we eat it like nonstop. Do you eat fruit? I think fruit is very important. What fruit don't you eat? I eat berries and like seeds. Like right now, peaches are in season, so I've been adding them to my cooking. I'll cook with fruit in moderation. I just don't eat it like for me. Like I don't eat a banana or an apple as a snack, but I'll implement it in moderation in my cooking. I try not to eat too much of it because of like the sugar content, which for me personally doesn't work because I like to be in ketosis. But Jack and Justin eat fruit without limit, and we do get seasonal produce in our CSA box.
I need to eat more fruit.
He tries to eat more. Jack eats it a lot. Like, you guys are like a mirror match, my husband and I. Awesome. Traditional North American food, and my mom never used a cookbook, different meal every time. That's how I grew up too. My mom's a really good, like a really avid cook, and she never repeated stuff. So that's how I actually, writing my cookbook and with the blog, I repeat stuff more now to test it, or just because I have my recipes written somewhere where I never did that before. Oh, remember the tuna zoodle casserole thing? That's on the blog. I made a tuna zoodle casserole for him. It's like a paleo tuna noodle casserole.
That was good.
That was good. Remember the one I made you that was like kind of vegan? With like,
that's what I thought we were going to remember was the first thing you cooked for me.
No, that wasn't the first thing.
Okay.
But I did. When I was like vegan-ish, I made a dairy, like with a dye of cheese and like, it was, and like weird gluten-free noodles that weren't even good ones. I tried, the early days. But yeah, Jack's food is pretty good though. One thing that you guys have to realize about Jack, we've noticed most kids his age don't eat a lot. Like a lot of young children eat very small quantities. When we see him with his friends, we realize like most kids eat a few bites of their plate and leave it. Mm-hmm. Jack eats like as much as we do.
He eats a lot.
He does. So, that's at least something that we have going for us.
Yeah, and ever since Jack could eat solid food, if it's not too late for whoever's listening, he always ate what we ate. Right. And so that definitely helped. Whether it was like unseasoned before, it was added to our plates, but he's always eaten what we've eaten.
Yeah, when we did baby-led weaning, and so when he was really little, this is before I gave up nightshades, so maybe I would like leave the spice out or something and give it to him in small pieces. We did some purees and like smoothies and like fruit and like veggie juices. He used to love like beet juice and weird things like that. His poop was all sorts of colors, gross, TMI. But yeah, that really helped Jack have a diverse palate. And however, around 2 years old, he became very picky.
I want to answer. Go back.
Oh, hold on.
Say traditional snacks.
How do you think you will handle traditional snacks, goldfish, Doritos, etc., as Jack is exposed to those with more friends in school? That's something we struggle with.
So when I don't do it anymore at the house, really, and that's where you can start, because they do everything you do. Then if I wanted something in the house, I would just tell him it's spicy, but that's going to wear off soon because he'll start liking that. That is a good question. He classifies it as being like junk food and stuff, as a bad thing, but I know he will try it eventually and like
he
it.
will. So. I mean, he's had goldfish definitely, like in Hawaii, like everyone at play dates. Because he doesn't have allergies, we don't tell him, no, you can't have it. We just offer a better option. Like, okay, there's the goldfish, but I brought you this, blueberries or whatever. So you can have your snack, and if you want to try some of that, go for it. But we give him the option. He knows what food is healthier than the other. We talk about that. We don't try and say it's bad for you, but we just say, hey, this might be better for you, or you'll feel better. And then he's a kid. Of course he wants to try it.
Right. And we're not going to buy it for him. So if he tries it at a friend's house and he tried it at a friend's house, and that's fine.
Right. And he can make those. And like as he grows older, he'll be able to make those choices for him. But we try and not do the forbidden fruit thing, because then we don't want it to backfire later. Right. My 2-year-old has a bottomless tummy, and I believe you. Maybe because I did baby-led weaning also. Yeah, Jack, holy moly, he's puts away food. My kids eat a ton. Every time we go to a restaurant, they order an adult meal, and the waitress is like, "Are you sure?" Yeah, Jack's the same way. Just today for breakfast, he had 3 Birch Bender pancakes and like a bowl of watermelon for breakfast, and he'll eat all his lunch. My kids had no sugar, gluten, dairy at all their childhood, no problem. That's awesome. My fiance and I got our Made Whole book a few weeks ago, and we love it. Our favorite meal so far is a chicken katsu. Oh, thank you. And the Thai coconut soup. That's awesome. Your 6-year-old is super healthy, as you can see. Yeah, that's really great. I think that a lot of people, I think it depends on your environment, and your relationship with your kid. Jack was already eating when we changed our eating habits, so it wasn't like he hadn't had sugar yet or, grains. But it's so crazy what they pick up by example. Like, it's funny when you give him a plate of food and he asks if there's gluten in it. And you're like, no, but like, it's just, that's hilarious that he thinks of that. Or he asks if something has a lot of sugar. So yeah, like we don't do fruit juice or any kind of juice. And like anything sweet, that's one thing. We don't keep like cookies in the house and things like that, because sugar is addicting. I mean, and you like, remember that one time I bought the Wegman cookies?
Oh, I buy them still.
Okay, well.
But I put them up high. He doesn't know I have them. And they're spicy, if you ask.
But if he does see them, then it's like, he wants them all the time. And so we've learned like, there's like that crackhead kind of thing when it comes to, and so we just, omit. And then I'll just make a healthy version of whatever, which is so funny because they don't get as fiendish with the healthy versions. Like he has these protein muffins that I've been putting in his lunch all week. And they're delicious. And to me, they taste really sweet. They're made with the you tasted them with the chocolate chips, but he's not like asking about them night and day like a little crackhead.
Yeah, he's not going without either. He goes to a birthday party or something. He eats cake and like that with the rest of the children. Just at home, we control it more.
Right. Yeah, I think it's an interesting balance, like, between having to restrict your children when you know that there's a predisposition. That's a good one. Okay, the big conversation with my hold on. The big conversation with my 6 and 8-year-old is not pointing out others' unhealthy choices. They don't understand why everyone doesn't eat healthy.
Yeah, that is a great point. I always, sometimes Jack will make a choice and I will tell him that he can't have it and he wants to get something else. And then he starts saying that, because it's junk food, this and that, talking smack about whatever it was, probably an old favorite snack of mine. But I just correct him, and anything is junk if you eat too much of it. So
right. Yeah, we do talk about like the moderation thing, which, as a lot of you guys know, as adults, there's moderators and there's abstainers. But when they're going to be exposed to some stuff, it's definitely hard. It's also hard with a kid because you don't, like, you know how kids, like, they say the darndest things? Like, I don't want Jack calling out some kid in school saying that he's eating junk food because the kid has goldfish and a PB&J. Right. So you just kind of have to, if they're mindful about it, I think that that's a good start. Yeah, the spicy, everything that Jack can have is spicy. But he understands, like, he misses dairy, right? He used to love having Greek yogurt in the house. And Justin buys Greek yogurt for himself. And Jack, which I used to buy Jack the unsweetened, plain, full-fat Greek yogurt, and this one has the Chobani ones for work. And Jack would sometimes early in the morning sneak into the fridge and eat his yogurts. He doesn't do that anymore. Like, he understands that he's not eating that right now. And so he makes that choice. Like, he'll go and get a Mama Chia pouch or get a muffin or a banana in the morning. But he hasn't gotten into dairy, like, because there's nothing we can hide from our child. He's giant and he reaches and climbs on everything. So, without us harassing him about it, he's making that choice, and that's kind of cool. Let's see.
I have to scroll up.
You're dying about this. You guys are funny with the spicy. Yeah.
It works.
It works because he hates spicy food. I have a 14-year-old, and up until he was about 12, he was really great about healthy eating like I do. But lately, there's been so much resistance. He's entering the teenage years. Yeah, girl, teenagers are crazy.
For that, I would just... you have one meal that you can control all the time, which is dinner, if you guys eat together. And so you're just going to continue to do that. If we could all remember how we used to eat when we were teenagers and in our early 20s, and we're still here.
That's true.
So don't worry about it too much.
Are you gonna go keto for cycling, Justin?
No.
Chris Froome does it.
Yeah, he sure does. He's pretty awesome.
He's not interested.
So yeah. Chris Froome is a superior athlete for sure, and he does it, yes. But that's all he does. I do other things like work and things around the house or whatever. So
that's true.
I'm not that committed. I don't have any problems with my cycling or any other part of my diet or anything. And when I do, I'll make changes.
Yeah. So Justin, keto she's an avid cyclist as well.
Okay.
Interesting. So for those of you listening, so Chris Froome is like the fastest cyclist right now. He does keto, but interestingly enough, if you read about his diet, he's still eating about 120 or 150 grams of carbs a day. But because of how insane his workout routine is, he is definitely in ketosis. So that definitely is a good example. Like when you see keto for performance, or like what he would do is a targeted ketogenic diet where he eats like carbs before his before and during his rides, but the rest of the time is like keto, and that's so he's burning that glycogen really quickly to give him an edge on performance, but then he taps into his fat reserves to keep sustained energy because this guy rides like hundreds of miles, thousands a week,
probably 1,000 a week at least.
Yeah.
But that's not a healthy lifestyle, being a professional cyclist, by the way.
Yeah, and Mark Sisson talks about this all the time, like endurance, crazy competitive endurance athletics. Like Mark Sisson used to do like be an Ironman, and so he says that he's healthier now, like in his 60s or however old he is, than he was in his 20s competing, because that constant stress over your body. And yeah, Chris Froome might be really fast, but you look at the man and he does not look well. Like he's so skinny.
Right.
Hi. Oh, I'm so glad you like the Facebook video. Yeah, it's also on my YouTube channel. I did a whole video on like why go dairy free, or maybe why you would want to go dairy free keto. I thought we were talking about before, but anyway. Hello. Yeah. So anyway, with us at home, the food stuff is, it is what it is.
It just takes care of itself at this point. It's so routine.
How can I help my family make better food choices? Since moving out and choosing to eat whole foods, I've realized how much starch, sugar, and processed foods they have.
Family, like siblings?
I think she means like also parents and stuff. Like she moved out of her house.
That's hard because a lot of my family members don't eat very well either. And I haven't really given it a whole lot of thought. You?
Yeah, so my family has always eaten a little better, I think, than like the norm, because they're all like into cooking and stuff, and because my mom owns like a health food restaurant. But it wasn't until recently, and I've talked about this, where I've been telling my mom, like, hey mom, you and I pretty much have all the same autoimmune issues. You need to do what I do. And Hispanic familia, yeah girl, I hear you. And so it wasn't until my mom landed in the ER with her hand immobile from a rheumatoid arthritis flare that she called me and was finally ready to make the changes, because she eats, in her restaurant, yeah, even though it's healthy and organic, beans, soups, lots of nightshades, definitely starches, wine, white rice, just a lot of things that she was eating. But I think that, like I said, you lead by example. And I think that you do something long enough, you show that the proof is in the pudding, and they'll kind of come around eventually. Especially now, like our parents, like if you're in your 30s, your parents are in their 50s, 60s, 70s. This is the age when all those chronic illnesses really start coming out and rearing their heads. And luckily, if they're lucky enough to get a doctor that's going to give them advice, like to go dietary lifestyle, you can be there to support them, be like, hey, I know that sounds scary, but I'm going to help you through this. But it's not always perfect, believe me. I wish all my family was as strict with their food choices as I am, but yeah, you can't like preach anyone into changing their life. That's not going to happen. They're just going to push back.
It's hard to get someone to change something they've done 3 times a day for their entire life. So don't put too much energy into it. I don't know.
Right. Yeah. Don't go over there saying this is bad for you, this is bad for you, this is bad for you. Right. Just when they ask, hey, you look great, what are you doing? Like, well, I'm going to tell you. And then try and do it like that. Oh, I'm so glad you liked the article. The advice. And there's a ton of stuff on my blog too. There are more resources coming in Spanish. If your family, like if they're Spanish speakers, super excited. Dietdoctor.com, it's a Swedish website, but apparently they have a Spanish website too that I'm writing Latin recipes for, and they already have several on there.
In Latin.
In Spanish.
Oh.
So that's kind of exciting, because I know that resources in Spanish are limited, and I'm sad that I don't create more, but it's hard. I was keto for a year before my husband and finally decided to join me, get him off the Diet Coke. Well, super awesome that he made the choice. Justin was a Diet Coke, a Coke Zero drinker.
Well, 0 calorie soda, sure.
Right. But now he drinks LaCroix.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how did that happen? Did I just buy it for you one day?
Yeah. I think I asked her to get like a 12-pack of 0 calorie cola. Because I don't drink beer or anything anymore. And she got me LaCroix, and it was nasty crap. And now I always drink it.
All the time.
Yeah, I love it.
LaCroix all day, every day.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. Maybe next time you go to the store, instead of getting him Diet Coke, just come back with LaCroix.
Man, some Diet Coke drinkers are crazy, though. You gotta be careful.
They are. The caffeine. Actually, there's more drinks coming out in the like 0 calorie natural water with flavorings, like Spindrift. Some people like that more. And some of them have caffeine. I feel like Paleo Bailey posted this. I think Target has a sparkling water with caffeine. Oh, hold on, we're missing some stuff.
I'm not angry, by the way. I'm squinting.
Okay, yeah, we can't read. Speaking of wine, do you miss it? It's the hardest thing for me to give up. Yes and no. So there's like those rare moments after like, it's usually like Friday afternoons if I've had a busy day, and I have that like, it happens less and less. It used to happen all the time. Friday afternoons, it'd be like almost like, you know, muscle memory. I wanted to like happy hour or relax with alcohol. But one, I no longer feel the need to like decompress like in the same way, right? And so I feel like I don't need that crutch. It was definitely more that. And I've learned that like if I am gonna have wine, like at my cousin's wedding, I didn't really drink, but then he was like, try this like 20-year-old wine, and I was like, I'll have a sip. Like it's one of those things that I'm like, I just save it for if it's a worth it moment for me. It's definitely not part of our lifestyle anymore. We don't drink to like, we don't need it to have fun. We don't need it to relax. We both are way better without alcohol in our lives. We both drank way more than our share in our youth. So we're good.
I'm good.
Yeah, we're better without it. I think that like, yeah.
And that's another thing I don't miss, like bread. It just takes some time is all.
Yeah, it does. Okay, hold on. Let's runs Google to Spanish. Awesome. Zevia. Yeah, I've heard Zevia has some pretty good stuff. Do I think keto is right for everyone, weight loss, or do you think a simple whole foods approach with more carbs and less fat could be more effective for some? That's a good question. Yeah, I don't think it's for everyone. I think that a lot of people, because insulin resistance is way more prevalent than we think, that's why keto seems to be like this cure-all for America. Because guess what? Most of us are insulin resistant. And if you're insulin resistant, keto is going to do wonders for you, right? However, for those who are not insulin resistant, there are many ways to be healthy, and it doesn't have to involve, right, low carb. Like when your body uses carbs efficiently how it's supposed to, like this one, you're going to use up that energy, especially if you're active. If you're a very active person, like very active, you're going to use carbs efficiently. You're not going to have insulin resistance. You're not going to be like starving all the time. You're not going to, actually you might eat quite a bit. He eats a lot. But you're not going to like put on weight. And I think that it can be just as healthy, like a paleo diet, like a regular, or even with like some beans, especially if they're prepared correctly. Absolutely. There's a lot of diversity in starchy vegetables. There's a lot of prebiotic fibers and nutrition. I got a lot healthier going paleo before I ever went keto. For me, it made a difference for me, but because I'm insulin resistant. So if that makes sense. Yeah, I never think like anything is the answer for the cure-all for anybody. You should make a jarabe encendido recipe. Ooh, good idea. And for winter, on it. I'll make it for the pressure cooker too. Tell people that why don't you tell people that something is bad for them? Like if it's your mom who is clearly unhealthy and clearly not eating enough real foods. Yeah, but we talked about that. You can't tell someone, like, first of all, I know this my whole life, right? Like, I was overweight, and people would say, like, I'd be eating a sandwich. You shouldn't eat that because you're fat. Like, put that sandwich down. Eat a salad. I'd be like, here's salad, and I'd eat my sandwich. Like, no one responds well to that. You have to just lead by example, right? Do you agree?
Yeah, I think you did tell your mom, right?
Well, I mean, when she asked, I told her, I gave her the information. She didn't listen to me. I didn't harass her about it. Right. And when I would ask her, how do you feel? Oh, this hurts and this hurts and this hurts. I'm like, oh, well, look, you know. And then finally she came to me, and now she's doing a lot better. He drinks less Diet Coke for sure because I buy him LaCroix as well.
Oh, nice.
Is Coke Zero bad for keto? I think so. I think the thing with Diet Coke is it probably still spikes your blood sugar. I don't buy Diet Coke.
Oh, yeah. I don't want to comment. Never mind.
Are you off all sweeteners? If not, which do you use? I'm not off all sweeteners. I'm trying to get there. I'm definitely noticing more and more. I do better without any sweeteners. Like dark chocolate, yes. Maybe a little bit of stevia, good. But sugar alcohols aren't my favorite. They cause me some bloating. Even though the Lakanto or whatever, which is erythritol monk fruit, tastes really good. And performance-wise, it works really well. I think way better than Swerve. This is the hard thing about my whole sweetener situation. Unfortunately, in the blog sphere, keto sweets are huge and popular, and I find that a lot of keto sweets use a lot of sweeteners. So I almost feel like it's my job to create sweets that are use less sweetener for those who still want to consume, because the truth is the vast majority of people who are going to be on keto are still going to consume sweeteners, at least to some extent. And to have these foods, and the more people that transition into keto, the more people are in that beginning phase where they feel they need these foods, which are kind of like a crutch, but they're also part of the transition. Like, I eat way less sweets now than I used to when I first went keto. And like, you kind of go, everyone kind of goes through the same evolution of like realizing like, hey, I'm going keto, carbs are the devil. Hey, I'm keto, maybe carbs aren't totally the devil, maybe just have to work out more or eat a little bit less or whatever. Or hey, now I'm fat adapted and I kind of have more metabolic flexibility and real foods are important and maybe I shouldn't like eat fat bombs all day. And like, everyone kind of ends up in the same like,
Do you drink kombucha?
you know, going down the same self-discovery in that path. So yeah, I'm mostly off sweeteners. Like for next month, I'm doing no sweetener September, just doing 95% dark chocolate. And we'll see how it goes. Love LaCroix with a splash of apple cider vinegar. That sounds good. He hates vinegar. He hates vinegar.
Well, I like vinegar things.
Like salt and vinegar chips. But if I cook with vinegar, he's like, oh my God, it smells.
Apple cider vinegar. Poor apples.
What's your favorite LaCroix? We love
Orange.
cherry lime. Orange is the best. But then don't fall for the tangerine. It's an imposter. Isn't that the worst?
I like it.
You like the tangerine?
When it's cold.
Well, when it's cold. I like the lime or the orange. But I don't drink it nearly as much as him because sparkling stuff, I have to have it like in moderation. With this heat though, I've definitely been drinking more LaCroix. Do you guys drink kombucha? If so, can you talk about how it fits into your food philosophy? I do.
I don't.
I don't drink it often, but I do like ginger kombuchas. I don't drink them all the time because I think like anything else, like I do take a probiotic and I eat other fermented foods. My son, Jack, loves kombucha and he likes ginger kombucha, which is so random. So I get them for him sometimes. They're just like another, probiotic food. Like I tend to either have sauerkraut or pickles or fermented pickles in the fridge, or I have coconut yogurt, or I have kombucha, and those kind of are on a rotation, but I'm not married to one over the other. They're kind of expensive and like I don't buy them all the time, but like we had a dinner party and I bought like the big jug of kombucha kind of to like offer as a beverage that wasn't water, and that was fun. That went over well. I rarely drink wine, but when I do, it's Fitvine wine from Dry Farms wine. Both are no sugar and very low carb. Yeah, so those are interesting because the sugar is fermented out, and they're very good quality wines. I've had them at Paleo Effects. But I still got like a hangover. Granted, I have like 2 glasses of wine and I'm hungover. So for me, it was still like, I'm glad I got to try it, but would I have it on a regular basis? No, because the following day I was definitely like, not my usual self. Hold on. Sorry, it's so hard to read because I love how diverse you are with all your cooking and info. You don't just push all 30 AIP keto. You're a wealth of knowledge, and thank you. Thank you. I've learned a lot. He's seen me. I read a lot. I have a question for Justin.
Okay.
That maybe you guys want to know. How has my work, like this journey of like my business evolving and growing, how has it affected your life and like our family dynamic?
I've gotten used to helping you have quiet time in the house.
That's true.
It was hard to realize that this is where she works, and with constant distractions, it makes it very difficult.
That's true.
But now school started, so
It's amazing.
it's quiet.
It's so nice.
What else is hard? Not much. It seems to flow pretty well.
It does.
She could be busy during the day a lot when I want to talk to her, and I just wait until later at dinner time or something if she's had like a real busy day. So
That's something that that's something important to talk about. I think that I have messed up in that regard sometimes, especially with the move and the book. There were a lot of times where I feel like I wouldn't like put work aside or like take enough of a time to be like, hey babe, like what did you want to tell me? Like I'd be like, tell me later, I'm working. But then later we'd have dinner, we'd have Jack in bath and bed, and before I knew it, the day would go by and we didn't have the conversation. So one thing that with being more intentional with my time when Jack is at school is that once like 4 p.m. comes around, my computer closes, I work a lot, like less or nothing in the afternoons, and so we can spend more time together. Having Jack at school is definitely helping. Like we can actually have a conversation when he's home. Awesome. It's pretty awesome. Like we watched the show in the afternoon yesterday. It was like playing hooky. Yeah. But I think that a lot of times when you work from home, it's hard to make that distinction between like work time and family time. And I know that like while he's been super supportive and like, I mean, I like took so much care of Jack while I wrote the book. I had to be mindful about that too. So sorry if I
something else, I be careful what I say when I critique her food, right? Because I can't lie, but I can't be a jerk either. So I don't want to tell her something's good if it's not good.
That's true.
And I tell her what I think.
That's true.
Usually like those pumpkin waffles.
He doesn't like them. The ones in the book, he's not a fan. Other people like them, but Justin's not a huge fan of coconut flour waffles, baked goods in general. He doesn't like yeah. Not a fan, but it's cool.
But anyways.
Hold on. Let's see what else we got. Would keto diet be helpful with someone fighting candida? Actually, in my Facebook group, the Clean Keto Real Food group, someone asked that because they just got diagnosed with candida overgrowth. Yes, keto, because it's a no sugar, no starch diet, is good for candida. However, you have to also avoid FODMAPs. So look up low FODMAP keto, no erythritol, which is like fermented corn, sugar alcohols from corn, and no fruit at all. So you can do keto, but you'd have to tweak it specifically for candida. Dr. Will Cole, who just came out with Ketotarian book, has a post on his blog that's pretty good about this. Do I check my ketones and blood sugar with a device? I don't have a ketone meter. I do have a blood glucose meter. I don't check it regularly. He doesn't.
No, you used to check for ketones though.
What?
The strips, right?
Yeah. Oh, right, the pee strips before, yeah. Before I realized that if you're peeing out your ketones, you're not using them, so the strips are kind of useless. But the blood monitor I do have, I use it occasionally as a tool. I usually just do 2 or 3 days in a row, and then I put it away. Like today I was thinking I might start testing it again, just for a spell because I'm upping my protein a bit. But that's about it. Yeah, I think going by how you feel is also just the most important thing. I don't care for no-calorie sweeteners. I really like Ali Miller's approach where she uses a tiny bit of maple syrup for a few dates to sweeten things on occasion. I agree. I love Ali's approach to that. However, it's really hard as a content creator to like implement that upon someone else. Most of my recipes use very small amounts of sweetener as it is, and there's always the option to use a natural sweetener or a no-calorie sweetener. So like if a whole recipe that makes 20 cookies or half, whatever, only uses a 1/4 cup of sweetener, whether that's the Lakanto or maple syrup, you can choose for yourself. But remember, people with insulin resistance or like, a lot of people that'll spike their blood sugar no matter what. Like Ali, her approach to using natural sweeteners, I think also applies a lot to people who are already fat adapted. But if you're in the early stages, you wouldn't use any.
Look at that Shasta root beer recommendation. I'm going to try that.
If you miss root beer, Shasta has an unsweetened root beer essence soda. Soda water. What?
That sounds good.
Where do you get that? Whole Foods? I don't do milk kefir or water kefir. I haven't had those. Waterloo from Whole Foods is good. I think it's better than LaCroix. We'll have to check it out. Maybe we'll do a taste test. Oh, baby, we should do that. We could do buy a bunch of different brands and then taste test them on here. You guys want a live soda water?
It better be cold.
Taste test. I think people's taste changes over time as well. That you don't need things as sweet. Oh, absolutely. So sorry, I just stepped on you. I agree. And like my avocado brownies, it's like the debate of the goddamn century, where a lot of people make them, and they're like they weren't sweet enough. Which is why there's like a note on the recipe to sweeten it more per taste, because those are written for like people who have their palate already like on the no sweetener train. They're very lightly sweetened to be healthy. And it's funny because a lot of people are like, they were good, but not that sweet. I'm going to add more sweetener. So I'm like, you do you. But like, it's, like I said, it's hard as someone who writes recipes that need to appeal to the masses. So like, I don't starve and my business succeeds, but at the same time trying to do the right thing and create recipes that are like not just delicious but actually good for people. The struggle is real. But yes, totally the taste changes. I can't even like taste things I used to eat and I'm just like, what? I am new to keto and have trouble adjusting to stevia. Yeah, if you can't eat stevia, then just don't eat it. What does hubby think about me sharing my personal life on social media?
I think it's great. That's her job, to educate and entertain, right?
Am I entertaining people?
Yeah. So she doesn't share, I mean, it's her personal life up to what she shares with you guys, so it doesn't bother me.
Yeah, that's actually something good to talk about. And I've talked about this a little bit before, but for people who are new here, I'm an open book, and it's just a part of my personality to be very like, I'm honest and I'm transparent because it's just the way I am. But I will say, even though I share personal stuff, I don't share intimate stuff, if that makes sense. Like if I'm going through something, I might just be offline a little bit more, and then might talk about it once I've come out the other side, right? Like once I've like worked through my issues and found a resolution, I can share with you what worked for me. But I won't often be on here like complaining or like crying because it's just not my personality. I think there has to be a separation for my own mental and emotional health, because people obviously always want to help, but I need to go through my own stuff and fix my own problems. And then I can share with you if I learned something new that would be useful to you. So there is a difference between personal and transparent and then sharing things that are like intimate, which I do keep a separation.
Yeah.
Right?
We all share things. You share
right.
With the internet
right.
all the time. So.
Espanol, please.
Sorry.
Sorry.
I know speak.
He doesn't speak Spanish. Becoming fat adapted. When you're fat adapted, means that your body prefers to use fat as fuel instead of glycogen, because you've trained your body by starving it of glycogen, of sugar and carbs, to use fat for fuel, which that's the state I'm in. I'm fat adapted. Justin is a sugar burner. But interestingly enough, anybody has the capacity to burn fat or sugar for fuel at any given time. Like on a long bike ride, he'll come home and I can smell the keto breath on him because he's burned through all his sugar stores, all his glycogen stores, all his snacks, everything he ate that morning, it's already gone because he's burned it off, and now he's using fat as fuel to make it to the rest of his ride. And it's so interesting that we all inherently have that. We all have the ability to burn fat as fuel and to burn sugar. And even when you're fat adapted, you're still gonna burn some sugar sometimes. Like even if your body turns protein into glycogen, we need some bit of glycogen. Yes, taste test. We should do that next week. Maybe we'll do this like until, maybe next Friday we'll do it. We could do it.
Yeah. Well, I kind of don't have a job right now.
Right.
We won't get into that.
We won't get into that. It's a whole thing. The military is crazy. Soda water taste test. Root beer Shasta. Okay, hey girl, hey. Hey Jen. ¿Cuándo vas a hablar español tan interesante? No hablo español aquí porque este canal no es español. Unfortunately, like I know people need more resources in Spanish, but it's really hard because I haven't grown this business on a Spanish platform, so changing now is difficult. I have been on more podcasts. I'm going to do more Spanish podcasts, but Castaway Kitchen will remain primarily in English, and that is also because it's the language that I'm the most comfortable in, honestly. Like, yes, Spanish was my first language, but I speak it with my family, and sometimes Jack, I harass him about it, but it's easier for me to express myself in English. Let's see. Thanks for sharing nutrition advice on social media in your book. Thank you so much. I need to do the keto reset. Just got back from vacay, and this is taking forever for my body to get back into ketosis. Ooh, supplements. I was just telling Justin, I just bought a bunch of supplements. I'm not going to share with you guys what they are. It's one of those things, like, I need to go through this before I share. the outcome. Like, I don't know what the outcome's going to be yet. And I don't like giving advice until I know like what's going to happen on the other side. I did take a lot of like liver support, supplements when I first went keto, and a probiotic, iodine, and like mineral. Like, I always take magnesium, and I always take like a electrolytes. Jesus, I couldn't think of the name. However, if you need to it's really easy to get back into ketosis like in a day. Fast, go for a long walk. Like, that's all you need. Like, work out fasted, and you're gonna be in ketosis like that. You might not be fat adapted right away, but if you do that, let's say every morning for a few days and just remain pretty low carb the rest of the day, that should get you. Don't do a crazy, like, don't do CrossFit without eating, you'll pass out. But like,
Don't CrossFit. Sorry.
But you know what I'm saying? A light workout when fasted is a really, really fast way to get into ketosis. I have thyroid. Hold on. I wonder if we can. How close?
Sure. Well, we'll get closer.
We'll get closer, so I can touch the phone without having to get on the table. I have thyroid issues. Is keto diet good to lose weight? So, there's two pitfalls to keto and thyroid. One being a lot of people tend to undereat on keto, women especially, because eating high fat is very satisfying, and then you eat less quantities of food. But when you have thyroid issues, you cannot undereat. As it is, your body has a hard time creating energy. So if you're not getting enough calories, you're going to be screwed. So you can do keto, but you have to make sure you're eating enough. Because with thyroid issues, like, starving yourself is not going to get you anywhere. Also, your T4 levels will initially drop on keto, but it should level out eventually. So yes, you can keto, but proceed with caution. There is an overload of keto information online. How do you keep it manageable, and how do you know what is good and acceptable? That's a really good question. Find your reputable sources and stick to them. I have like 3 people or 4 people that I go to online for keto information. There's a few, because I know people. Like, I know a lot of these people personally, so I know. But like, my first go-to, Rob Wolf and Mark Sisson are like the Mac Daddies for me of all things, because A, they've been doing this forever. 2, they don't just like sell it, they live it. Like, you see these guys, they are living what they preach. So Mark Sisson, Rob Wolf, Ali Miller is one of my favorite resources. Leanne Vogel is really good too. Maria Emmerich is another one. These people are like my trusted sources. Rob Wolf is working a lot with Keto Gains, and Luis Villaseñor, he also has really good information. So I just kind of stick to my trusted resources, and anytime some crazy news comes out, I go back to them and say, hey, what are they saying about this? And is what they're saying like backed by science? And usually it is, because they're reputable. Oh, I'm so glad you like my book and my page. That means a lot. Pure encapsulations, you're right. They are the best. Thoughts on exogenous ketones? Unnecessary. They have clinical applications, and I think some people might be able to use them directed by a doctor for special needs. But unfortunately, I think most people who are promoting exogenous ketones, or most people who buy exogenous ketones, oh look, we only have 2 minutes left, do so thinking it's going to be like a weight loss magic bullet, and it's not. Favorite book other than Made Whole? Ooh, that's really hard. I love my Paleo Patisserie by Urban Poser, even though it's not paleo at all, but it's beautiful. Thoughts on carnivore? Don't do it. Do the autoimmune protocol first. Yes, you can substitute almond butter for sunflower butter. I don't know. I don't use a lot of cookbooks, but Craveable Keto is beautiful by my friend Kendra if you want to check it out. There's also the Good Food Cookbook by Michelle Smith, which is really pretty. Practical Paleo by Diane Sanfilippo. Those are all really good books. And there's so many more keto books and good books coming out like nonstop on the internet right now. But yeah, thanks to you guys for hanging out with us. Justin, thank you so much. All right, guys. We'll see you guys next Friday. Be here. We will do a soda water taste test.
All right, sounds good.
Yes, it's on. I'm so excited. Have a good weekend, everybody.
Hi, Rosie.
Bye.